Your brain has been lying to you about sleep. While you think you're simply resting, something extraordinary happens every night that most people never learn about. What if I told you that your sleeping brain is more active than when you're awake, quietly rewriting your memories and deciding which parts of your day are worth keeping forever?
Let me show you what's really happening behind your closed eyes. Right now, as you settle into this moment, your brain is preparing for its nightly ritual. But here's what makes this fascinating. Sleep isn't the passive shutdown you imagine it to be. It's an intricate performance where memories dance between different brain regions, stories unfold in vivid detail, and your mind sorts through thousands of experiences to decide what deserves a permanent home in your consciousness. Think about yesterday. Can you remember what you had for breakfast? The color of a stranger's shirt? The exact sequence of steps you took from your car to your front door? Some memories stick while others vanish like morning fog. This isn't random. Your brain makes these choices deliberately, and most of this decision-making happens while you sleep. Scientists once believed sleep was simply the body's way of forcing rest, a biological off switch. But what they discovered changed everything we thought we knew about consciousness itself. The sleeping brain is a storyteller, an editor, and a librarian all working the night shift. While your body lies still, neural networks light up in patterns that mirror your waking experiences. Your hippocampus, a seahorse-shaped structure buried deep in your brain, begins replaying the day's events like someone reviewing security footage after hours. But this isn't just playback. Your brain is rewriting the script. Every experience you have during the day creates a temporary memory trace in your hippocampus. This region acts like a staging area, a temporary loading dock where new memories wait to be processed. These fresh memories are fragile, easily disrupted, vulnerable to interference from whatever happens next. Without sleep, most of them would simply dissolve. Here's where it gets interesting. About 90 minutes after you fall asleep, your brain initiates a transfer protocol. Those temporary memories stored in your hippocampus begin their journey to your neocortex, the brain's long-term storage facility. This isn't a simple copy-paste operation. It's more like translating a rough draft into a final manuscript, extracting the essential meaning while letting unnecessary details fade away. Scientists discovered this through a remarkable series of experiments. They placed tiny electrodes in the brains of mice and watched what happened as the animals learned to navigate a maze. While awake, specific neurons fired in sequence as the mice ran through the corridors. Each turn, each decision, each landmark created a distinct pattern of neural activity. Then the researchers let the mice sleep. During deep sleep, those exact same neural patterns fired again. The brain was replaying the maze experience, but in fast forward, like watching a video on double speed. This replay happened hundreds of times throughout the night, each repetition strengthening the memory, burning it deeper into the neural architecture. When researchers interrupted this replay, the mice forgot the maze. When they enhanced it, memories became stronger. The sleeping brain wasn't just reviewing information, it was actively deciding what to keep and what to discard. Your brain does this every single night. While you lie motionless, your hippocampus and neocortex engage in an elaborate conversation. The hippocampus says, "Here's what happened today." The neocortex responds, "Show me what matters." And together, they build the archive of your life. This transfer happens in waves. Your brain produces slow, rhythmic oscillations during deep sleep, gentle electrical tides that sweep across your cortex. Riding these waves are faster bursts of activity called sleep spindles and sharp-wave ripples. These are the vehicles that carry memories from temporary storage to permanent archives. Think of it like a relay race. The slow oscillations create the rhythm, the sleep spindles open the gates, and the sharp-wave ripples sprint through with packages of memory. Each ripple lasts only about 100 milliseconds, but in that fraction of a second, an entire experience can be transmitted from one brain region to another. Researchers found something remarkable about these ripples. When an animal formed a strong memory, ripples during sleep were abundant and powerful. When memory formation failed, ripples were weak or absent. The correlation was so consistent that scientists could predict whether an animal would remember something just by watching its brain activity during sleep. This led to an audacious experiment. What if they could boost these ripples artificially? Using optogenetics, a technique that allows scientists to control neurons with light, they stimulated the brain at precisely the right moments to amplify sharp-wave ripples during sleep. The results were stunning. Mice that would normally forget a brief 5-minute encounter with a new toy suddenly remembered it hours later, but only if their ripples were enhanced during sleep. The researchers had essentially upgraded the animal's memory capacity by fine-tuning their sleep. Your brain has this same machinery. Every night, it makes choices about what to preserve. The conversation you had with a friend, the face of someone you passed on the street, the solution to a problem that's been nagging you. Some of these experiences trigger strong ripples and get filed away permanently. Others fade because their ripples were too weak to make the transfer. But sleep doesn't just preserve memories, it transforms them. During the transfer from hippocampus to neocortex, something subtle happens. The specific details begin to blur while the core meaning sharpens. You might forget the exact words someone used, but you remember how they made you feel. You might lose the precise layout of a room, but retain the essential spatial relationships. This isn't a flaw in the system. It's a feature. Your neocortex doesn't have room for every trivial detail. If it tried to store everything, you'd be overwhelmed by irrelevant information. Instead, your sleeping brain extracts what matters, the patterns, the lessons, the emotional significance, and lets the rest dissolve. Scientists call this process memory consolidation, but that clinical term doesn't capture the beauty of what's actually happening. Your brain is creating meaning from chaos. It's finding the signal in the noise. It's building the story of who you are, one night at a time. And this happens in stages, each with its own purpose. When you first fall asleep, you typically enter stage 1, a light transition between waking and sleeping. Your brain waves slow down, your muscles relax, and you might experience those strange falling sensations that jerk you back to alertness. This stage is brief, usually lasting only a few minutes. Then you descend into stage 2, where sleep spindles make their appearance. These are brief bursts of brain activity that act like bridges between your hippocampus and neocortex. They create windows of opportunity for memories to begin their transfer. You spend more time in stage 2 than any other sleep stage, and for good reason. This is where much of the organizational work happens. But the real magic occurs in stage 3, also known as slow-wave sleep or deep sleep. This is when those powerful slow oscillations sweep across your brain like gentle waves across a calm sea. Your heartbeat slows to its lowest rate. Your breathing becomes deep and regular. Your muscles are completely relaxed. It would take significant effort to wake you. During this stage, your brain is working harder than you might imagine. Those slow waves coordinate the replay of memories, synchronizing activity across distant brain regions. The hippocampus and neocortex synchronize their firing patterns, creating a unified rhythm that facilitates memory transfer. Without enough stage 3 sleep, you wake up feeling unrested no matter how many hours you spent in bed. Your body might be physically recovered, but your brain hasn't completed its essential maintenance. This is why your body tries to get as much deep sleep as possible early in the night, loading up on it during the first few sleep cycles. After cycling through these stages, something different happens about 90 minutes into sleep. Your brain waves suddenly change pattern, becoming faster and more irregular. Your eyes begin moving rapidly behind closed lids. Your breathing becomes uneven. Your heart rate increases, yet your muscles remain paralyzed. You've entered REM sleep, the dreaming stage. And this is where the story takes a surprising turn, because REM sleep serves a completely different purpose than the deep sleep that preceded it. While deep sleep handles the systematic transfer and organization of memories, REM sleep deals with something more elusive: emotion, creativity, and the strange narrative experiences we call dreams. Your brain during REM sleep looks remarkably similar to your waking brain on an EEG reading. The electrical patterns are fast, irregular, and intense. In fact, your brain consumes just as much energy during REM sleep as it does when you're fully awake, sometimes even more. This seems paradoxical. Your body is paralyzed, yet your brain is buzzing with activity. Why would evolution create a state where your brain works over time while your body lies motionless? The answer lies in what REM sleep allows your brain to do. During this stage, your brain can rehearse scenarios without physical consequences. It can process emotions without the stress hormones that would flood your system if you were awake. It can make unusual connections between disparate ideas, creating the strange logic that characterizes dreams. But here's something most people don't realize. Dreaming doesn't only happen during REM sleep. For decades, scientists believed dreams were exclusive to REM periods. The evidence seemed clear. When researchers woke people during REM sleep, they reported vivid narrative dreams about 80% of the time. Case closed, right? Not quite. When researchers changed their question, everything shifted. Instead of asking, "Did you have a dream?" they started asking, "What was going through your mind?" Suddenly, people reported mental experiences during non-REM sleep as well, not just during REM periods, but throughout the night. These non-REM experiences tend to be different. Less vivid, more thought-like, sometimes just fragments or impressions rather than full narratives. But they're there, happening during deep sleep, during light sleep, even during those brief transitions between stages. Your mind is never truly quiet during sleep. It's always processing, always working, always engaged in some form of mental activity. The nature of that activity changes as you move through different sleep stages, but the underlying process continues uninterrupted. This continuous mental activity serves a purpose. While deep sleep handles the mechanical transfer of memories and REM sleep processes emotions and creates associations, the transitions between stages allow your brain to integrate everything into a coherent whole. Each stage contributes something unique to the overall architecture of memory, and your brain is remarkably selective about which memories receive this special treatment. Not everything you experience during the day gets the full consolidation process. Your brain has to make choices because you're constantly bombarded with more information than you could possibly store. The sound of traffic, the feeling of your clothes against your skin, the ambient temperature, the precise color of every object in your visual field. Most of this sensory input gets filtered out immediately, never even reaching conscious awareness. But even among the things you do notice, only a fraction gets tagged for long-term storage. Your brain uses several criteria to make these decisions. Emotional significance is one major factor. Experiences that trigger strong emotions, whether positive or negative, are more likely to be consolidated. This makes evolutionary sense. Our ancestors needed to remember where they found food, where they encountered danger, and which social interactions mattered for survival. Repetition is another factor. Things you encounter repeatedly get prioritized because repetition signals importance. If you see something once, it might be random. If you see it 10 times, it's probably relevant to your life. Novelty matters too. Your brain pays special attention to new experiences because they represent learning opportunities. That unusual bird you spotted, that unexpected compliment you received, that strange sound you couldn't identify. These novel experiences often get flagged for consolidation, even if they don't have obvious immediate importance. But here's what's truly remarkable. Your brain makes many of these decisions during sleep, not during the experience itself. What seems trivial in the moment might reveal its significance later. What seems crucial at the time might fade once you've had a chance to process it. Your sleeping brain reviews the day's events and makes editorial decisions about what deserves permanent storage. It's like having an overnight editor who reviews your manuscript and decides which scenes to keep, which to condense, and which to delete entirely. This selective process explains why you can study something intensely, yet struggle to recall it later if you don't sleep afterward. The information entered your hippocampus, but without sleep, it never made the journey to long-term storage in your neocortex. It's like loading items onto a truck, but never actually driving them to their destination. Sleep is when the delivery happens. Researchers demonstrated this beautifully in studies where participants learned word pairs or visual patterns. One group was tested after a period of sleep. Another group was tested after the same amount of time spent awake. The sleep group consistently showed better retention. The difference wasn't subtle. Sleep provided a clear advantage for memory consolidation across virtually every type of learning task researchers tested. Whether participants were learning vocabulary, motor skills, spatial relationships, or emotional associations, sleep enhanced their performance. Even brief naps showed this effect. People who took a 90-minute afternoon nap after learning something new retained that information better than those who stayed awake. The nap didn't need to be long. It just needed to include enough time for the brain to cycle through its consolidation processes. This has profound implications for how we think about learning. It suggests that the time you spend sleeping is not time away from learning. It's an essential part of the learning process itself. Your brain needs those offline hours to integrate new information into existing knowledge networks. Without sleep, learning becomes like trying to fill a bucket that's already full. New information pushes out old information. Memories interfere with each other. Nothing gets properly organized or stored. But with adequate sleep, your brain clears space in your hippocampus, files away what matters, and prepares itself to learn again the next day. This is why cramming all night before an exam is counterproductive. You might be able to hold information in your short-term memory long enough to regurgitate it the next morning, but without sleep, that information never makes it into long-term storage. Within days or weeks, it's gone as if you never learned it at all. Your brain is remarkably consistent about this. Night after night, it performs the same elaborate dance, receiving, reviewing, selecting, transferring, and transforming the raw material of experience into the refined product of memory. And all of this happens automatically, without any conscious effort on your part. You don't have to tell your brain which memories matter. You don't have to manually transfer information from your hippocampus to your neocortex. You don't have to schedule your sleep spindles or trigger your sharp wave ripples. Your brain handles all of this on its own, following ancient protocols refined over millions of years of evolution. All you have to do is sleep. And as you continue listening, your own brain is already beginning this process. The information you're absorbing right now is creating temporary traces in your hippocampus. Later tonight, while you rest, those traces will either strengthen into lasting memories or fade away, depending on what your sleeping brain decides. But memory consolidation is only part of what happens during sleep. There's another dimension to this nightly journey, one that involves the strange, vivid experiences we call dreams. And these dreams are not random noise. They're an essential part of how your brain processes emotion, solves problems, and makes sense of your waking life. Let me show you what happens when your sleeping brain starts telling stories. Dreams arrive about 90 minutes after you fall asleep. That's when your brain enters REM sleep for the first time, and something remarkable happens. Your eyes begin moving rapidly behind closed eyelids, tracking scenes that don't exist. Your breathing becomes irregular. Your heart rate increases. Your brain waves start resembling the patterns seen during wakefulness, as if you've woken up, except you haven't. Your body has become temporarily paralyzed, preventing you from acting out whatever strange narrative is unfolding in your mind. This paralysis is not a side effect. It's a protective mechanism. Without it, you'd physically respond to dream events, running from imaginary threats, reaching for phantom objects, perhaps even injuring yourself or others. Your brain knows this, so it disconnects motor signals from reaching your muscles. You can dream about flying, fighting, or fleeing, but your body remains perfectly still. Yet, despite this physical stillness, your brain is burning energy at levels that match or even exceed waking activity. Measurements of oxygen consumption and glucose metabolism during REM sleep show that your dreaming brain works just as hard as your thinking brain. This seems wasteful at first glance. Why would evolution preserve such an energy-intensive process if dreams were merely random noise, meaningless static produced by a sleeping brain? The answer becomes clear when you look at what's actually happening during these vivid experiences. Dreams are not random. They incorporate elements from your recent waking life, people you've met, places you've been, problems you're facing. Research shows that when people learn something new before sleep, they often dream about it. And when they dream about it, they remember it better afterward. In one study, participants learned to navigate a complex maze. Some of them dreamed about the maze during a subsequent nap. When tested later, those who had dreamed about the maze performed significantly better than those who hadn't. The same pattern appeared in another study where people listened to an audiobook before sleep. Those who dreamed about the content showed stronger neural evidence that their brains had reprocessed and strengthened those memories during sleep. This isn't coincidence. Your dreams are directly connected to the memory consolidation processes happening in your hippocampus and neocortex. When your brain replays experiences during sleep, those sharp wave ripples we discussed earlier, those replays don't just happen silently in the background. Sometimes they bubble up into your awareness as dreams. You're witnessing your own memory consolidation in progress, though in a distorted, symbolic form. But dreams do more than consolidate memories. They transform them. During REM sleep, your brain doesn't simply copy experiences from short-term to long-term storage. It extracts patterns, finds connections, strips away irrelevant details, and weaves new information into existing knowledge structures. A dream about your childhood home might actually be your brain linking a recent conversation to old emotional memories. A dream about being chased might represent your brain processing social anxiety through the ancient neural pathways designed for physical threats. This transformation explains why dreams feel so strange. They follow a logic that makes sense while you're dreaming, but seems bizarre when you wake up. People morph into other people. Locations blend together. Time jumps forward and backward. These aren't glitches, they're features. Your dreaming brain is making associations, finding similarities, connecting dots that your waking mind would never link together. It's creating a web of meaning rather than a linear recording. The emotional content of dreams reveals another crucial function. Most dreams contain negative emotions: anxiety, fear, frustration, sadness. This might seem like a design flaw until you understand what's happening. Your brain is using REM sleep to process and integrate emotional experiences. Studies show that REM sleep deprivation specifically impairs the consolidation of emotional memories. When you're denied REM sleep, emotional events don't get properly filed away. They remain raw, unprocessed, potentially overwhelming. During REM sleep, the limbic system, your brain's emotional center, shows intense activity. Meanwhile, the prefrontal cortex, which normally regulates and contextualizes emotions, shows reduced activity. This combination allows you to experience emotions without the usual rational constraints. Your brain can explore emotional scenarios, work through fears, and practice responses in a safe environment where consequences don't exist. This emotional rehearsal might explain why nightmares, while unpleasant, serve an important function. They let you confront fears, experience worst-case scenarios, and develop coping strategies without real danger. Your brain is running simulations, testing responses, building emotional resilience through practice. The temporary paralysis ensures you can feel terror without running, experience anger without fighting, face threats without consequences. What's particularly fascinating is that dreams don't only happen during REM sleep. For decades, scientists believed REM was the exclusive domain of dreams, with non-REM sleep being essentially dreamless. But when researchers changed how they asked the question, shifting from "did you dream" to "what was going through your mind," they discovered mental activity during non-REM sleep in up to 70% of cases. Non-REM dreams tend to be different from REM dreams. They're often more thought-like, less vivid, less emotional. Instead of experiencing a full sensory narrative, you might be working through a problem, replaying a conversation, or thinking about tomorrow's plans. These quieter mental processes might represent a different kind of memory consolidation, one focused on facts and procedures rather than emotions and narratives. Your brain cycles between these different states all night long. Each cycle lasts about 90 to 120 minutes. You typically go through 4 or 5 complete cycles per night. The first REM period might last only 10 minutes, but each subsequent REM period gets longer. By morning, you might spend up to an hour in a single REM phase, which is why your most vivid, elaborate dreams often happen just before you wake up. This architecture isn't random. Your brain prioritizes deep, slow-wave sleep early in the night because that's when the most critical memory consolidation happens. Later, as the night progresses and the urgent work of transferring memories is mostly complete, your brain allocates more time to REM sleep and its unique emotional processing functions. It's as if your brain has a schedule: handle the facts first, then work on the feelings. The content of your dreams reflects what your brain considers important. Not every experience from your day makes it into your dreams. Your brain selectively incorporates elements that have emotional significance, unresolved conflicts, or connections to existing knowledge. A brief conversation might dominate your dreams if it triggered strong emotions or linked to deeper concerns. Meanwhile, hours of routine activity might leave no trace. This selective incorporation reveals something profound about how your brain decides what to remember. Emotion acts as a highlighter, marking certain experiences as worthy of consolidation and integration. When you dream about something, it's often because your brain has tagged it as meaningful, whether consciously or not. The dream itself might seem nonsensical, but the underlying process is making intelligent decisions about what deserves permanent storage in your neural networks. Modern research has even found ways to communicate with people while they're dreaming. In groundbreaking studies, scientists trained participants to become lucid dreamers, people who remain aware they're dreaming while the dream continues. During REM sleep, these lucid dreamers could perceive questions from researchers and respond using predetermined eye movements or facial signals. They were essentially sending messages from inside their dreams, like astronauts reporting from another world, except that world existed entirely within their own brains. These experiments revealed that the boundary between waking and dreaming consciousness is more permeable than anyone imagined. You're not completely disconnected from reality during dreams. Your brain can still process certain external information and respond to it, all while maintaining the dream state. This has profound implications for understanding consciousness itself, suggesting that dreaming represents an alternate mode of awareness rather than an absence of awareness. The brain regions active during dreams tell us even more. Using brain imaging technology, researchers discovered that when you dream about a location, the same spatial processing areas activate as when you navigate that location while awake. When you dream about faces, your face recognition areas light up. When you dream about speech, your language centers engage. Your brain treats dream experiences almost like real experiences, activating the same neural machinery. This explains why dreams can feel so convincing while you're having them. Your visual cortex is generating imagery. Your auditory cortex is creating sounds. Your emotional centers are producing genuine feelings. From your brain's perspective, the dream is real. It's receiving input, processing information, generating responses, just as it would during waking experience. The only difference is that the input is coming from internal memory systems rather than external senses. What makes dreams particularly valuable for memory consolidation is precisely this sense of reality combined with impossibility. In dreams, you can experience scenarios that would be dangerous, impossible, or impractical in waking life. You can confront situations from multiple angles simultaneously. You can merge past and present, blend different contexts, explore alternatives that never happened. This freedom allows your brain to form connections and extract patterns that rigid linear thinking might miss. Consider how often people report solving problems in their dreams or waking up with sudden insights. This isn't mystical. It's your brain making novel associations during sleep. When you stop forcing your thoughts down familiar channels, when you let go of logical constraints and allow your mind to wander through memory networks without a predetermined path, you sometimes stumble onto solutions that eluded you while awake. Dreams provide a space where your brain can be creative with your memories, rearranging them into new configurations. The transformation that occurs during sleep goes beyond strengthening individual memories. Your brain actively reorganizes knowledge, creating hierarchies, extracting rules, identifying patterns that span multiple experiences. A single dream might weave together memories from childhood, last week, and this morning, finding unexpected commonalities between them. This is your brain building a coherent model of the world from scattered pieces of information. Over time, as memories move from hippocampus to neocortex through repeated replays during sleep, they lose some of their specific details. You might remember the essence of a conversation, but forget exactly where it happened. You might recall the emotional tone of an event, but lose track of precise dates and times. This isn't memory failure, it's memory refinement. Your brain is extracting what matters, discarding what doesn't, creating abstract knowledge from concrete experiences. This process of abstraction is crucial for learning. If you remembered every detail of every experience with perfect fidelity, you'd be overwhelmed with information. You'd struggle to see patterns because you'd be lost in specifics. By transforming memories during sleep, your brain creates usable knowledge, general principles you can apply to new situations rather than just a catalog of past events. Your dreams are the visible surface of this transformation. When you dream, you're catching glimpses of your brain's nighttime work, reorganizing, connecting, abstracting, integrating. The strange, symbolic nature of dreams reflects the fact that your brain is operating at a level below specific details, working with patterns and relationships rather than literal recordings. The dream about being back in school might not be about school at all. It might be your brain processing feelings of being tested or judged, linking your current workplace stress to old academic anxieties through shared emotional themes. And this is all happening automatically, every single night, whether you remember your dreams or not. Most dreams are forgotten within minutes of waking, but the memory consolidation they represent is permanent. The neural connections strengthened during sleep remain long after the dream images fade. You might not recall dreaming about that conversation, but your brain has still processed it, filed it away, connected it to relevant knowledge networks. Understanding this transforms how we think about sleep. It's not downtime. It's not wasted hours. It's when your brain does some of its most sophisticated work, curating your experiences, organizing your knowledge, maintaining your emotional balance, and preparing you to learn again tomorrow. Every night, while you rest peacefully unaware, your brain is telling itself stories, and those stories are rewriting who you are. The question isn't whether your brain is working during sleep. The question is whether you can influence what it works on. Turns out, you can. And people have been doing it for centuries without realizing the mechanics behind it. Think about the last time you told yourself before bed, "I need to remember this for tomorrow." Maybe you had an exam coming up or an important presentation, or just wanted to recall where you put your keys. That simple act of intention, that moment of deciding something matters, changes what happens in your brain overnight. Your brain isn't randomly selecting which memories to consolidate. It's following signals about importance, and one of those signals comes from you. This is where sleep gets really interesting, because while you can't consciously control the replay process, you can stack the deck. When researchers have participants study information and then explicitly tell them they'll be tested on it later, those memories show stronger consolidation during sleep compared to information participants think they won't need again. The brain is listening to your priorities. It's allocating its limited consolidation resources based partly on what you've marked as significant. But here's what most people miss. The marking doesn't have to be explicit. Every time you pay attention to something, you're sending a signal. Every time you engage emotionally with an experience, you're flagging it for preservation. The intensity of your focus during learning predicts how thoroughly that information will be processed during sleep. Your daytime attention is writing instructions for your nighttime brain. This explains something that's puzzled students for generations: why cramming the night before an exam sometimes works, but never as well as spaced learning. When you cram, you're trying to encode everything at once, flooding your hippocampus with new information right before sleep. Your brain does its best to consolidate it all, but it's working with limited time and resources. It has to choose what to prioritize, and without clear signals of importance, it makes somewhat random choices. Some information gets processed thoroughly, some gets partially consolidated, some gets lost entirely. Contrast that with spaced learning, where you study material multiple times over several days. Each time you review, you're reactivating those memory traces, sending repeated signals that this information matters. By the time you sleep after your final review session, your brain has had multiple opportunities to strengthen these memories. The consolidation process during sleep becomes more targeted, more efficient. The brain already knows what's important because you've told it repeatedly through your study pattern. The practical implications are profound. If you want to maximize memory consolidation, the timing of your learning matters. Studying right before bed gives your brain fresh material to work with during the night. But this only works if you're actually going to sleep. Pulling all-nighters to study is possibly the worst learning strategy imaginable. You're encoding information without giving your brain any opportunity to consolidate it. You might feel like you're learning more by staying awake, but you're actually guaranteeing you'll forget most of it. Even more fascinating is what happens when you combine learning with sleep in specific ways. Researchers have found that if you expose people to sensory cues during learning, say a particular smell or sound, and then present that same cue during sleep, it can enhance memory consolidation for the associated information. In one study, participants learned the locations of objects while a specific odor was present. When that same odor was presented during slow-wave sleep, their memory for the object locations improved significantly. The smell was reactivating the memory traces, triggering additional consolidation. This is targeted memory reactivation, and while it's still mostly a research technique, it reveals something crucial about how sleep and memory interact. The consolidation process isn't sealed off from the outside world. Your sleeping brain can still receive information, and under the right circumstances, that information can guide which memories get strengthened. You're not completely unconscious during sleep. You're in a different state of consciousness, one that's incredibly sensitive to certain types of signals. But you don't need special equipment or laboratory conditions to harness this. Simple review before sleep works remarkably well. When you briefly review material right before going to bed, you're preloading your consolidation system with exactly the memories you want to strengthen. Your brain will naturally replay these recently activated traces during sleep. You're essentially cueing your own targeted memory reactivation. The emotional component can't be ignored either. Memories associated with strong emotions, whether positive or negative, get preferential consolidation during sleep. This makes evolutionary sense. Emotionally significant events are usually important for survival, so the brain prioritizes preserving them. When something made you feel intensely, your brain treats that as a signal to remember. During sleep, emotional memories get consolidated more thoroughly than neutral ones, particularly during REM sleep. This is why traumatic memories can be so persistent. They're being strongly consolidated night after night. But it also means you can use emotion strategically when learning. If you can find a way to make information personally meaningful or emotionally engaging, you increase the likelihood it'll be preserved during sleep. The driest material becomes memorable when you connect it to something you care about. There's another layer to this that researchers are only beginning to understand. Sleep doesn't just strengthen memories, it can restructure them. During consolidation, your brain isn't making perfect copies of your experiences. It's extracting patterns, building connections, integrating new information with old knowledge. This process can actually change your memories, sometimes in surprising ways. You might go to sleep having learned a list of vocabulary words and wake up understanding grammatical patterns you weren't consciously aware of. Your brain found the rules buried in the examples. This is implicit learning, acquiring knowledge without explicit awareness, and sleep seems to facilitate it powerfully. The consolidation process reveals structure in your memories that wasn't apparent during initial learning. This transformation explains why sleep can enhance creativity and problem solving. When your brain is free to make loose associations between memories during dreams, it sometimes discovers non-obvious connections. The solution that eluded you during the day suddenly seems clear in the morning because your sleeping brain approached the problem from a different angle, linking it to memories and knowledge you didn't consciously consider relevant. But here's the catch. This only works if you've done the groundwork. Sleep can't create knowledge from nothing. It can only work with what you've encoded during wakefulness. If you haven't engaged with a problem, haven't thought about it, haven't encoded relevant information, sleep has nothing to consolidate. The sleeping brain is incredibly powerful, but it's not magic. It needs raw material. The preparation matters as much as the sleep itself. When you spend time genuinely engaging with information, actively thinking about it, connecting it to what you already know, testing yourself on it, you're creating rich, detailed memory traces that give your sleeping brain something substantial to work with. The depth of your encoding predicts the quality of your consolidation. This is why passive learning is so ineffective. If you just read something without really thinking about it, you create weak memory traces. During sleep, your brain does its best to consolidate these traces, but there's not much there to strengthen. You might have a vague sense of having encountered the information, but you won't truly remember it. Deep encoding requires effort during wakefulness. Sleep can amplify that encoding, but it can't replace it. The timing of sleep matters too, and not just because consolidation takes time. Your brain moves through different sleep stages throughout the night, and each stage contributes something different to memory processing. Early in the night, you get more slow-wave sleep, the deep sleep associated with strong consolidation of declarative memories like facts and events. Later in the night, you get more REM sleep, the dreaming sleep linked to emotional processing and creative associations. If you only get 4 hours of sleep, you're missing a lot of REM. If you go to bed very late but sleep until noon, you might get plenty of REM but less slow-wave sleep than if you'd followed a more typical schedule. The architecture of sleep, the sequence and duration of different stages, affects which types of memories get prioritized. This is one reason why consistent sleep schedules are so important. Your brain adapts to process different types of information at different times of night. Naps complicate this picture in interesting ways. A short afternoon nap can provide memory benefits, but what you get depends on the nap's length and timing. A brief 20-minute nap might include only light sleep and stage 2, which still offers some consolidation benefit. A 90-minute nap takes you through a complete sleep cycle, including both slow-wave and REM sleep, providing more comprehensive memory processing. Some people swear by pre-exam naps. They study intensively, take a nap, and then go into the test. The nap gives their brain time to consolidate what they've just learned, strengthening the memories before they need to retrieve them. It works, but only if the nap actually includes sleep stages that support consolidation. A restless nap where you barely lose consciousness won't help much. You need to actually achieve the deeper stages for meaningful memory processing. What happens when you don't sleep at all? The effects cascade. First, you lose the immediate consolidation opportunity. Whatever you learned that day doesn't get properly processed. Second, your hippocampus gets congested. Remember, it's a temporary storage system. Without sleep to transfer memories to long-term storage, new information has nowhere to go. Your capacity to encode new memories the next day is impaired. You're trying to learn with a full temporary buffer and no way to clear it. This is why sleep deprivation hammers learning so hard. It's not just that you're tired and can't focus. Your actual ability to form new memories is compromised at a biological level. Students who pull all-nighters before exams might successfully cram information into short-term memory for the test, but that information never gets properly consolidated. A week later, it's gone. They passed the exam but didn't really learn anything. The chronic version of this is even worse. Consistent sleep deprivation, getting insufficient sleep night after night, creates a growing consolidation deficit. You keep encoding new experiences without giving your brain adequate time to process them. Your memory becomes increasingly unreliable. You forget conversations, lose track of tasks, struggle to learn new skills. It's not that you're incapable of learning. It's that you're not giving your brain the offline processing time it needs to convert temporary traces into lasting knowledge. And here's something most people don't realize. You can't fully recover this lost consolidation by sleeping more later. If you skip sleep tonight, tomorrow's extended sleep will help you feel more rested, but it can't completely consolidate memories that should have been processed the previous night. Some information will be lost permanently. Sleep debt is real, and while you can partially recover from it, the optimal window for consolidating each day's experiences is the night immediately following them. Your memories are most fragile right after formation. They need to be consolidated quickly, within about 24 hours, or they start degrading. This is why consistent sleep is so much more valuable than binge sleeping. 7 hours every night is far better for memory than 5 hours for 6 days, followed by 12 hours on the 7th. By the time you get that long recovery sleep, you've already lost a week's worth of optimal consolidation opportunities. The good news is that even modest improvements in sleep can yield significant memory benefits. You don't need perfect sleep to get meaningful consolidation. Your brain is remarkably efficient at memory processing even with less than ideal conditions, but understanding how the system works lets you optimize it. Small adjustments to when you study, how you review, and how you prioritize sleep can substantially enhance how much you remember and how well you learn. Your nighttime brain is ready to work for you. The question is whether you're giving it the right instructions. Now let's talk about what happens inside your head during those hours you spend unconscious. The process is far stranger and more elegant than most people realize. During deep sleep, your brain produces slow oscillations, waves of electrical activity that sweep across your cortex like a tide rolling in. These aren't random. They're coordinated patterns that emerge specifically during the deepest stage of non-REM sleep, stage 3. This is the phase where your body repairs tissue, strengthens your immune system, and most importantly for our discussion, processes memories. These slow waves create the foundation for something remarkable. As they roll through your cortex, they trigger other types of brain activity that piggyback on their rhythm. Sleep spindles. Brief bursts of rapid electrical activity appear during these slow waves. Think of spindles as messengers. They help coordinate communication between different brain regions, specifically between your hippocampus and your neocortex. But there's a third player in this nocturnal orchestra: sharp wave ripples. These are incredibly fast bursts of activity that originate in your hippocampus, lasting only about 1/10 of a second. They fire during the quiet periods between slow waves, and when they do, something extraordinary happens. Your hippocampus replays memories. Researchers discovered this by accident. They were studying rats running through mazes, monitoring which neurons fired as the animals navigated. Each location in the maze activated specific place cells in the hippocampus. When the rats fell asleep afterward, those same place cells fired again in the exact same sequence the rat had experienced while awake. The brain was literally replaying the day's experiences, but much faster, sometimes 10 to 20 times faster than real time. This replay isn't random reminiscence. It's targeted memory processing. During these ripple events, your hippocampus is essentially teaching your neocortex what happened today. The neocortex is a slower learner than the hippocampus, but it has far more storage capacity. The hippocampus rapidly encodes new information, then uses sleep to gradually transfer that information to the neocortex's more permanent storage systems. The coordination between slow waves, spindles, and ripples is precise. The slow wave creates a moment of synchronized activity across the cortex. During this synchronized state, the brain is more receptive to incoming information. Sleep spindles appear near the peak of the slow wave, opening communication channels between hippocampus and neocortex. Then, in the quiet trough after the slow wave, sharp wave ripples fire, sending memory information from hippocampus to cortex while those channels are open. This three-part harmony is called the triple coupling of sleep oscillations, and it's the mechanism that physically moves memories from temporary to permanent storage. Without all three elements working together, consolidation fails. Scientists confirmed this through clever experiments. They trained mice to explore new objects, giving them just 5 minutes of exposure, not enough time for the memories to naturally stick. When the mice slept afterward, researchers monitored their brain activity. Mice that later remembered the objects showed strong, sharp-wave ripples during sleep. Mice that forgot showed weak or absent ripples. Then came the fascinating part. Using optogenetics, researchers artificially boosted those ripples during sleep, strengthening them at precisely the right moments. The result? Mice that would have forgotten the objects suddenly remembered them. The enhanced ripples had forced the memory transfer to complete successfully. They'd essentially overridden the natural forgetting process by amplifying the consolidation mechanism. This reveals something crucial about how memory works. Forgetting isn't always about memories decaying on their own. Sometimes memories fail to consolidate because the replay process during sleep is too weak or doesn't happen enough times. The information was encoded properly during the day, but the nighttime transfer process didn't complete. It's like uploading a file that never finishes. The data exists temporarily, but it never makes it to permanent storage. Your brain doesn't replay everything equally. It's selective about what gets this consolidation treatment. Memories that were emotionally significant, surprising, or relevant to future goals get replayed more frequently. Mundane, repetitive information gets replayed less. This is why you easily remember your first day at a new job, but struggle to recall what you ate for lunch 3 Tuesdays ago. Your brain is making constant decisions about what deserves precious consolidation resources. Emotional content particularly influences this selection process. Memories with emotional weight, whether positive or negative, trigger stronger replay during sleep. This makes evolutionary sense. Emotional experiences often signal important information about threats, rewards, social bonds, or survival-relevant situations. Your brain prioritizes consolidating these memories because they're more likely to be useful in the future. But here's where it gets interesting. The consolidation process doesn't just preserve memories exactly as they were encoded. It transforms them. During replay, memories aren't simply copied from hippocampus to neocortex like files transferred between hard drives. Instead, the repeated reactivation causes the neocortex to extract patterns and meaning from the raw information. Specific details fade, while the essential structure and significance of the memory strengthen. Over multiple nights of consolidation, your memory of an event becomes more abstract, more integrated with existing knowledge, and more stable. This transformation has real consequences for how you remember things. Fresh memories from yesterday retain vivid sensory details. the color of someone's shirt, the exact words they used, the ambient sounds in the background. But memories from months ago lose those specifics while retaining the core meaning. You remember the conversation was important and roughly what was discussed, but not the precise phrasing or environmental details. This isn't a bug in the system, it's a feature. Your brain is extracting what's generalizable and useful while discarding what's specific and likely irrelevant. You don't need to remember every visual detail of every dangerous situation you've encountered. You need to remember the pattern that signals danger, the lesson about what to avoid. The consolidation process during sleep performs this extraction automatically. The timing of consolidation matters tremendously. The strongest replay happens during the first sleep period after learning something new. If you study material in the morning and don't sleep until that night, you'll still get consolidation benefits. But if you study in the evening and sleep shortly after, the consolidation is typically more effective because the memories are fresher when replay begins. This creates practical implications for learning. Spacing your study sessions with sleep periods between them isn't just about avoiding fatigue. Each sleep period after studying gives your brain another opportunity to consolidate what you learned. The material gets replayed multiple times across multiple nights, each replay strengthening the memory trace and integrating it more deeply into your existing knowledge structures. You can even influence what gets consolidated by thinking about specific information before sleep. In one experiment, researchers had participants learn pairs of words, then right before sleep, they reminded participants about some of the word pairs, but not others. During subsequent sleep, the reminded pairs showed stronger replay in the hippocampus and better retention the next day. Just bringing information to mind before sleep increases the likelihood that your sleeping brain will prioritize consolidating it. This technique works even more powerfully with sensory cues. In another experiment, participants learned information while specific odors were present in the room. When those same odors were introduced during subsequent sleep, without participants consciously noticing, the associated memories showed enhanced consolidation. The scent triggered replay of the connected information during sleep without requiring conscious awareness. The implications are profound. Your sleeping brain is not passive. It's actively selecting, prioritizing, replaying, and transforming memories based on multiple factors: emotional significance, recent activation, sensory associations, and relevance to goals. You're not a helpless observer of this process. You can partially steer it through strategic choices about what you review before sleep and what environmental cues you associate with learning. But none of this happens if you don't get the right kind of sleep. Stage 3. NREM sleep, that deep, slow-wave sleep we discussed, is where most of this consolidation machinery operates. Without sufficient time in this stage, the slow waves don't generate properly, which disrupts spindle timing, which prevents optimal ripple coordination, which ultimately impairs memory consolidation. Your body naturally prioritizes deep sleep during the first half of the night. This is why the first few hours of sleep are so critical for memory. Even if you sleep 8 hours total, but your sleep is fragmented or shallow during those initial hours, you'll miss the peak consolidation window. Your brain scheduled its most important memory work for early nights specifically because that's when sleep pressure is highest and deep sleep is most likely to occur. Understanding this architecture helps explain why certain sleep patterns are more beneficial than others. Going to bed at a consistent time helps your brain establish reliable consolidation routines. Sleeping in a cool, dark, quiet environment increases the likelihood of achieving deep sleep stages. Avoiding screens before bed prevents blue light from suppressing melatonin and delaying sleep onset, which cuts into that critical early night consolidation period. The process is delicate but resilient. Your brain will attempt to consolidate memories even under suboptimal conditions. But optimal conditions, proper sleep duration, good sleep quality, consistent timing, allow the consolidation machinery to function at its best. The difference between adequate and optimal consolidation can determine whether you merely remember something or whether you truly learn it. integrating it deeply enough to recall and apply it flexibly in the future. Next, we need to examine what happens during the other major phase of sleep, REM, and why your brain needs both deep sleep and dreaming sleep to fully process the experiences you accumulate during waking life. REM sleep operates on completely different principles. While deep NREM sleep consolidates facts and experiences through careful hippocampal cortical dialogue, REM sleep specializes in something else entirely: emotional processing, pattern extraction, and creative recombination of information in ways that waking consciousness rarely achieves. The transition into REM sleep happens roughly 90 minutes after you first fall asleep. Your brain waves suddenly shift from the slow, synchronized patterns of deep sleep to something that looks eerily similar to wakefulness: fast, desynchronized electrical activity rippling across your cortex. Your closed eyes begin moving rapidly beneath your eyelids, scanning a visual landscape that exists only in neural firing patterns. Your breathing becomes irregular, your heart rate increases, blood pressure rises toward waking levels. Yet despite this apparent arousal, your body remains profoundly still. The brainstem actively paralyzes your major muscle groups during REM sleep, sending inhibitory signals down the spinal cord that prevent motor commands from reaching your muscles. This protective mechanism ensures that when your dreaming brain generates commands to run, fight, or dance, your physical body doesn't act them out. The paralysis is so complete that people occasionally wake up before it fully releases, experiencing a brief, unsettling period where consciousness returns, but movement remains impossible. This paradox gives REM sleep its scientific name, paradoxical sleep, because your brain appears awake while your body remains profoundly asleep. Brain energy consumption during REM equals or exceeds waking levels. Neurons fire with the same overall intensity as during active thinking. Your brain is working hard, but toward goals that differ fundamentally from waking cognition. The content of REM dreams reflects this different processing mode. While NREM dreams tend toward thought-like fragments, brief scenarios, static images, simple concepts, REM dreams unfold as full narrative experiences, vivid sensory details, complex emotional arcs, bizarre juxtapositions that somehow feel coherent within the dream. Characters appear and behave in ways that make perfect dream sense, but would be absurd if you tried describing them after waking. Brain imaging reveals why REM dreams feel so different from NREM mental activity. During REM sleep, emotional processing centers, the limbic and paralimbic systems, show intense activation. The amygdala, which processes emotional salience and threat detection, becomes more active than during waking. Meanwhile, the prefrontal cortex, which handles logical reasoning and reality monitoring, shows reduced activity. You're experiencing the world through emotional logic rather than rational analysis. This explains the strange narrative coherence of dreams. Within the dream, impossibilities feel perfectly reasonable. You're simultaneously in your childhood home and your current apartment. Your friend has your coworker's face. You can breathe underwater or fly by, simply willing it. The dreaming brain accepts these contradictions because the reality-checking systems that would normally flag inconsistencies are operating at reduced capacity. But this isn't random noise. REM sleep serves specific memory functions that complement what happens during deep sleep. While NREM sleep strengthens individual memories and transfers factual information to long-term storage, REM sleep excels at extracting patterns, integrating new information with existing knowledge, and processing emotional significance. Research demonstrates this specialization clearly. When people learn emotional material before sleep, REM sleep duration predicts how well they remember the emotional content specifically. Participants who spend more time in REM show enhanced consolidation of emotional memories compared to neutral information. Deprive someone of REM sleep specifically, and emotional memory consolidation suffers while factual memory remains relatively intact. This makes evolutionary sense. Emotional experiences carry survival-relevant information. The fear you felt when you almost stepped on a snake contains crucial data about threat recognition. The joy you experienced during social bonding strengthens relationship patterns that support survival. The anxiety surrounding a new challenge helps you prepare for similar situations in the future. REM sleep processes these emotional experiences, separating the core lesson from the specific context so you can apply the knowledge flexibly. Dreams about recent experiences predict better memory consolidation for those experiences. In one study, participants learned a complex spatial maze before sleep. Those who later dreamed about the maze, even if the dream was bizarre and didn't directly replay the learning,